Hi, this video is designed to give the basic introduction about pointers and arrays. So before we go into the topic, we should understand what are pointers, what are arrays, then pointers and arrays. This is how we are going to go in this video. So what are pointers? So pointers hold the address of a variable. Okay, so pointers hold the address of a variable. So when you talk about the address, so address is nothing but the address of the memory cell, right? Where the variable is stored. So depending on the data type of the variable may require 1 byte if it's a character, 2 bytes if it is a short, and so on. So depending on the data type, the number of memory cells required by a variable differs. So memory is nothing but it's a continuous memory cells, and they are having some address. They are identified by some address. They have addresses, right? So when you talk about this pointers are going to hold the address of the variable, right? Say for example, when we just look into this diagram, you can see here, if C is a character variable and P is a pointer. Okay, so C is a character variable, P is a pointer. Now, if I say P equal to ampersand C, what is this doing? Ampersand is nothing but address of operator. So the address of C is assigned to P. Okay, only pointer variables can hold the address of a variable, right? So this P is going to hold the address of a character variable, right? So when I say address of C, so it will take the memory address where this variable C is located and will assign that address to P. That is, the pointer P is pointing to the variable C. Can you see it? So the pointer P is pointing to the variable C. That is, P is holding the address of the variable C. Right. Now, we saw about the unary operator ampersand, which is nothing but the address of operator. Another operator, the unary operator, you will have to understand if we have to go to pointers, is star. This asterisk is the indirection or dereferencing operator. Okay, this is a unary operator asterisk, which can also be called as indirection operator, dereferencing operator, or also value at operator. Okay, let us see this code to understand the pointer, the ampersand, the asterisk. Right. So I've declared two variables, x equal to 1 and y equal to 2, and an array variable z of 10. Okay. As usual, x takes required bytes of memory and gets stored in memory. Similarly, y, and similarly z. So you know z is an array and it has 10 integer values. If the integer occupies 4 bytes of memory space, it requires 40 bytes because arrays are stored in continuous locations. So all these 10 elements will have to be stored continuously. And if we assume one integer occupies 4 bytes of memory, then we require 4 into 10, 40 bytes of continuous free memory space to allocate this Z. Okay. Now we have a pointer variable called IP. IP is going to point to a integer value. This is what this in asterisk IP says. That is, IP is going to point to a integer variable. That is, IP will hold the address of a integer variable, or IP is a pointer to a int, right? So all these are the same. So int asterisk IP, this is one way of declaring a pointer variable. So this says IP is a pointer variable which will hold the address of a integer variable. Okay, or I can also say star IP is going to be an integer. Okay, what does it mean? IP is going to have some address. Value present in that address is going to be an integer. Okay, there are different ways of explaining this one single statement. Okay, now IP equal to ampersand X. So IP is pointing to the location X. Okay, so IP is going to hold the address of X. Now, what does star IP refers to? Value present in the address of X, correct? IP is nothing but address of X. So this asterisk says value present in IP, that is value at the address of X. So what is the value at the address of X? 1. So Y is assigned the value 1. So Y becomes 1 now. Okay, then star IP equal to 0, that is value at the address of X is going to be 0. That is X is going to be 0 now. X is assigned the value 0. Then the next one, Z of 0 is the first element of your array Z. Ampersand Z of 0 is the first array element's address. That is going to be IP now. So IP now points to Z of 0. Okay, so what do we understand here? Ampersand is nothing but address of operator. Asterisk is nothing but indirection operator or dereferencing operator, or it can also be called as value at operator. So IP is holding the address of X, or IP is pointing to X. Now, whatever the value present in the address of X is going to be assigned to Y, that is 1. Y becomes 1. Now your X, because star IP is nothing but X, right? IP is address of X. Star IP is value present in address of X. That's going to be X. That's going to be 0. X is now assigned to 0. Now IP is pointing to the first array element of Z. Right. Now this is all about the very basics about pointers. Okay. So pointers are going to hold the address of a variable. When I say int space asterisk pointer name, that pointer is going to point to an integer variable, or pointer is going to hold the address of an integer variable. When I say ampersand, that's address of operator. Asterisk is nothing but, can also be called as value at, indirection, or dereferencing operator. Okay, now arrays. So arrays, what are arrays? Arrays are elements of same data type that should be stored in continuous memory locations. When I say int a of 10, array A is an integer which can have to the maximum of 10 elements. If your integer occupies 4 bytes of memory space, 4 into 10, 40 bytes is required to store this array, because arrays are stored in continuous locations. So say for example, I am storing it here. I am starting from here. That means I require till here. So if A of 0 is going to be here, it has to be followed by A of 1, A of 2 till A of 9, because always the index starts from 0. This is about arrays. So when we are working with pointers or arrays, we should remember arrays are stored in continuous memory locations. Say for example, if character array, the first element is stored in 1000, the second element of the character array is going to be stored in 1001, because character requires 1 byte. Say for example, an integer array is stored. The first integer array element is stored in 1000. Then the second integer array element will be stored in 1004, because an integer occupies 4 bytes of memory space. And the second one will be in 1008, then 1012, and so on, because it has to be stored continuously and every element requires 4 bytes of memory space. So this is what we'll have to understand. Now, how do we combine? Now, how do I access an array using a pointer? Okay, so you can see here int star PA. So PA is a integer pointer that's going to point to a integer variable. Now I'm storing, assume that A is declared as an array of integer. Okay, so I'm storing the address of the first element of the array to PA. That is, PA is going to point to this location. So what is star PA? Star PA is whatever value is present here, because PA holds this address. So star PA is value at this address. So whatever value is present in A of 0 is assigned to X. Can you understand this? So now if PA points to the array element 0, then PA plus 1 points to array element A of 1. PA plus 2 points to array element A of 2, and so on. Yes, please understand this. So PA is going to be A of 0, address of A of 0. Okay, so say for example, A is an integer array. So, and assume A of 0's address is 1000. We know they are hexadecimal values. Just for our simplicity, we are using 1000. So A of 0 address is going to be 1000. So PA is what? 1000, right? If address of A of 0 is 1000, PA will be 1000. Now what is PA plus 1? So PA is the address. So when I add 1 to the address, because it's holding the address of integer variable, it will add 4 bytes to it, because the next integer is present in after the 4th byte, right? So if PA is 1000, PA plus 1 will be 1004. PA plus 2 will be 1008, and so on, because one integer occupies 4 bytes. So when I add 1 to the address of integer, it has to add 4 bytes to it. Only then it will correctly move on to the next integer. Say, if it's a character array, and the first character array element, that is going to be PA. So what is PA plus 1? Say for example, 1000 is the address of A of 0, where A is an array of characters. Okay, now what is A plus 1? A of 0 plus 1, that's going to be 1001, because character occupies 4 bytes of memory space. Okay, so if ampersand A of 0 equal to 1000, and A is a character array, and that is going to be PA. Now PA plus 1 will be 1001, because PA is is pointing to a character. So character occupies 1 byte. So PA plus 1 will increase 1 byte. Is that clear? Okay, that's how your plus operator works with a pointer. So when I increment a pointer variable, it increments by its data type. If the pointer points to a character, it increments by 1 byte. If the pointer points to an integer, and if the integer occupies 4 bytes of memory space, it increments by 4 bytes, and so on. Because I'm incrementing the address, that is, I will have to point to the next element, correct? So it should increment appropriately. This is what you have to understand very clearly. So with this, so what are the things you're going to remember here? What is a pointer? What is the array? How do you store the address of the first element in the array? First element of the array in a pointer. Then how do I increase? How do I refer to the second element of the array, third element of the array, and so on? So if I increment the pointer, it's going to increment by number of bytes the data type requires. Please remember that. Okay, with this in mind, let us try to print the array elements using pointer. Okay, as usual, the execution starts from main. So I'm declaring an array with the elements 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so the size of the array is going to be 5. So I'm not very particular about fetching the size and all those things. It's a very simple program. So you're declaring an array. Now I'm calling the function print array, where I'm passing the address of the first element of the array. comma, the length of the array. There are 5 elements, so 5. Is that clear? So I'm passing the address. Now just tell me what should be the prototype of this function. This function is returning nothing, so void. Then the function name print array. Now within parenthesis, the first argument is going to be the address. So it's definitely a pointer. So int star a, comma int n. So n is going to be 5. A will be the address of the first element of the array. Right? Okay. So I'm going to move from I equal to 0 to 4. Okay. I equal to 0 to 4. So now I equal to 0. I'm printing star A. What is A? Address of the first element of the array. What is star A? Value at the first element. That it prints 1. Now I'm incrementing A. A is the address. When I increment it, A is the address of a integer variable. So when I say A++, it increments accordingly. If an integer occupies 4 bytes, A++ will increment by 4 bytes. Say for example, if A is equal to 1000, now A will become 1004. Yes. Now it goes here. I becomes 1. It prints star A. So star A is going to be value at 1004. That's definitely array of 1. So it prints 2. Then you increment A. Now 1008. So it prints value at 1008. Okay. So what are the things that remember here is arrays are stored in continuous locations. If the first array element is a pointer P, the second one will be P+1. Then the third one will be P+2 and so on. Okay. This is what we have to understand here. Right. Now program to print the length of the string. You know, with a similar concept of the previous program, I'm just extending a little further. Okay, now I have a character, a string variable. String is nothing but array of characters. So I've initialized to I love C programming because I wanted all students to love programming only. Then they will cherish or know what is happening here. Right. Now I'm calling this function, and whatever the function returns, I'm going to print it, right? So it's going to return an integer. I can see from this because it's %d, I'm going to print it. So what should be the prototype? It returns an integer. So int, the function name, and I'm passing the address of the first element of the character array. Okay, it's the first element of the character array. So character star, a variable name. Correct? Character star, a variable. Right. Now, I'm going to count the number of characters in the string. So, I initialize count to 0 first. Now, always remember, when you create a string, the last character of the string will be a null character. Okay, when you are creating a string, automatically a null character will be embedded in the after the last character. So your str will be I love C programming, a null character. Okay, so I wanted to count the number of elements till there is a null character, because null character is the end. Okay, so till there is null character, I wanted to count the number of characters. So now what is str? The address of the first element of the character array. So star str, the value in the first, that is str of 0, that's going to be I. Okay, so count is 0. I'm checking whether star str is not equal to null. Okay, so star str is the address of this place. Star str is I. It's not equal to null. So count becomes 1. Now str plus plus. Str is the address of a character. So str plus plus will increment by 1 bytes because character occupies 1 bytes. Now you're going to check whether the value present in that is going to be null. Here the value present is empty space. It's not null. So increment 1 in count. Count becomes 2. Again str plus plus. Check whether it is null. Otherwise increment count and so on. So when you come here, it becomes null. So you come out of the program loop. you return the count value and you print the count value. Okay, so the things to remember in this is pointers hold the address of a variable, and arrays are stored in continuous memory locations. When I increment a pointer, it increments by the number of bytes the data type holds or it requires. So when I say int asterisk ptr, ptr is going to hold the address of an integer. So initially if ptr is 1000, when I say ptr plus 1, it will become 1004 because integer occupies 4 bytes of memory space. So only if it increments by 4, it moves on to the next integer. Otherwise, it will be in the somewhere of the middle of the first integer itself. It won't get a value at all. So PTR plus 1 will move on to 1004. Then PTR plus 2, 1008, and so on. If a pointer holds the address of a character, PTR plus 1 will be 1 bytes increase because character holds 1 byte of memory space. And ampersand is address of operator. Asterisk is value at, indirection, or dereferencing operator. Hope you understand this. Thank you and have a great day.